Good morning, y'all. At least it's morning here where I am in the world at the time of my recording this. But good afternoon, good day, whatever time you are watching this. It is now 19 days to my birthday. And naturally, the excitement is building and growth is still happening little by little, day by day, which is, right, the compounding effect of getting things done and making things happen. So as I spoke before, massive change in rare occasions happens overnight, right? I say rare occasions because there's always exceptions, but in the day-to-day, when we're changing, when we're growing, when we're working out, whenever we're doing something productive, even destructive, but it's a inch by inch. And today's message is especially applicable to the ladies. Good for men too, but especially for my ladies. We have to speak what we want. I say especially for the ladies because one of the things for myself that's been coming up for me, and I think I might have been a video on this earlier, but being able to speak my piece, like being able to speak what I want, speak what I need, whether it be in any kind of relationship, right? It doesn't matter the levels of it. It could be familial relationship, it could be friendship, it could be romantic relationship, business, whatever it is, but like being able to speak your truth and speak what you want. And we teach people. Another quote, another shout out to Miss Lisa Nichols. So we teach people how to treat us and what we allow to be done to us, around us. Meaning, if someone is talk to us in a way that we don't like and we don't address it, we're teaching them that that's okay, that we don't dislike it enough to make mention of it. If we are engaged in a relationship that isn't as fulfilling or that's not as deep, particularly like, romantic or potentially romantic relationship, and we engage in certain activities, but we want more and we don't verbalize it, we're setting ourselves up. Even if things change, like we're allowed to change. And so if something was okay at one point and things have changed and now you want something different, you gotta speak your piece, right? And so often we get upset because things are a certain way. A person does a thing or doesn't do a thing or doesn't change the way we want them to or doesn't understand what's going on in our minds because they can't read our minds, and then we get upset because they're not making the adjustment, the change that we want them to. Now, make that make sense, ladies. And again, I say ladies because I know we're especially good at this, right? We have all these thoughts and feelings and frustrations about a situation, or somebody, whatever, and we hold on to it for whatever reason, whether it be because we don't want to cause waves, we don't want to make anybody mad, we don't want to be upset, what are some other reasons? All the reasons we don't say what we need to say, or say what we want to say the things that will help bring us peace because we don't want to disturb the peace in somebody else. We got to stop that. And again, naturally, this is my journey, so I've got to stop that. I'm speaking on it because it's the truth for me, and I can acknowledge it, but the fact that I'm acknowledging it and that like I'm ready to say what I need to say in certain situations, but that doesn't mean that it's not without lots of practice or mental preparation, for real. Of knowing like, hey, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? What's the possible outcome? comes of it. Not necessarily in a bad way, but just like, am I willing to endure or to deal with the consequences of me speaking my piece? Because that's another factor. And I know sometimes that's why we don't speak our piece, because we don't want to have to deal with the consequences of whatever that entails. And that's not even necessary to say that it's a bad consequence, or I should say, like, when I say bad, I just mean like something physical may not necessarily happen to us, but we may lose access to something, someone, situation, whatever the case is. But that ties back around to, what do we really want? I know this can be especially true with relationships, right? When, you know, you might have a little boo thing, a little side thing, whatever the case is. I say side thing, meaning that, like, y'all aren't in a relationship, not necessarily that you're the side piece or he's the side piece. That's a whole nother conversation. I personally don't really condone side pieces, but again, that's a whole nother conversation. But you know, again, ladies, we're especially great at this. We get involved to some extent with somebody who doesn't want a relationship, but we still engage because, you know what it is. We think we can be cool with it or whatever, right? And then things change for you. You know, you start wanting different things. Or maybe you wanted the same thing for the whole time, but, you know, because you just wanted someone to spend some time with, you accepted what it was. But maybe now you're ready for something more. Or you realize, what am I doing? You know, what do I want from this situation? What do I want from this person? What do I want for myself even? Because it may not even be about the person, but if you know that you want something real, something with longevity, something of substance, and you're continuing to engage in something that's not building or working towards that, one, don't be upset because you volunteered to be a part of the situation. Now, if you didn't volunteer to be part of the situation, you didn't know what it was, again, that goes back to speaking our piece. That goes back to having honest conversations. It's like we are afraid to have honest conversations. I have been afraid in the past to have honest conversations. And I can acknowledge that for me, I believe that where it came from is not having the space to be able to speak my piece in previous years, you know, growing up as a kid into my early adulthood. You know, whenever I would say what I needed to say, even from a place of trying to be very intentional about what I'm saying, because again, I had to be, right? If I didn't want there to be some kind of backlash, I've never been the type to like come with all kinds of attitude and sass and like snapping my fingers and top of my neck and all the other stuff. Like, that's never been me anyways. But we do get upset. Like, when we get mad, we're not happy all the time, right? And so there would be times when I would just simply speak my grievance, you know, my concern, what I disliked or whatever, and it would turn into a thing. Like, it would turn into an argument or a fight or whatever, sense of being disrespectful. And so that kind of conditioned me to want you to not say what I had to say, or fine-tune it, massage, like I talked about in the previous video, like fine-tune my message just right so it can be received just right. I gotta say what I need to say, like, at all times. And again, even if things change, like being willing to say what you need to say, you know, express, hey, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, what do you think, where do we go from here? And let it be what it is. But holding on and stressing out and accepting what we don't want or what we don't believe to be our true value or what we deserve, our worth, isn't cute. It's not cute, it's not cool, it doesn't serve our greater good. It doesn't serve like who we're being, who we're growing, who we're stretching to become. If it doesn't serve where you're going, not where you are, because, you know, where we are is where we are, right? A series of past decisions led us to where we are today. And maybe you acted out of ignorance, you did the best you could with what you had, with what was accessible to you, with what you knew. But as we grow, as we learn, as we evolve, we're allowed to change. We're allowed to want different. We're allowed to think different. We're allowed to want more. So if things change, that's okay. It's not about beating yourself up or beating anybody else up for what was. But now, once you recognize, okay, this current situation and or this current habit isn't conducive, isn't supportive for where I'm going. So now I'm going to make a change. That's when you need to make a change. If you got to practice. If you got to, you don't want to go in, especially if it's difficult, you don't want to go in. And I know certain people that you talk to are harder to talk to than others. Again, I 100% understand it. But that doesn't mean that you still don't get to say what you need to say. But be respectful. Be mindful of how you say things. Be mindful of the words that you say. Be mindful of these things. Don't come off, out of pocket and then get upset when it doesn't come out, when the results don't happen the way you want to. Now, you can't control how someone reacts. You can't control, you can't control anybody else, but you can control you. So you can't control how you say it. You can't control what you say. You can't control, the fact that you're saying anything. Now, how they respond is totally up to them, and then you gotta move accordingly. But ladies, especially in the situations where you might be involved with somebody who didn't want a relationship, and you knew this, if things change for you and you realize I want something more, but it's I don't want to lose, that's that kind of, we want our cake and eat it too. If you knew what it was going in and you're ready, and you don't want it to just be that anymore, or you realize okay, I'm starting to, catch feelings, or I want to develop feelings, but I don't want to, I don't know, whatever it may be. So if you can't be mad for what you knew going into. Only if you are to get mad, the only person you can be mad at is yourself. Let's be honest. At the same token, you don't have to be mad at yourself. Again, it's okay to change. It might have started one way and you was cool with it being how it was. Then you're like, you know what? I want more. I need more. This isn't. How long can I carry this on? So if that comes to be, say what you need to say respectfully. With honor, because again, especially if you knew what it was, there's so many of us out here who grew up in dysfunctional dynamics, whatever that dynamic may be. There's all kinds of ways to be dysfunctional, right? It doesn't always have to be physically abusive to be dysfunctional. We're out here operating and getting involved with others on different levels out of dysfunction. So at some point, we got to grow up. We got to be able to have adult conversations. We got to be able to embrace, adult situations and have it maturely, have mature adult conversations. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of us, adult conversations look like fighting and arguing and calling names and being disrespectful. Remember the childhood, the children that's inside of us that I spoke about, when we're unable to effectively communicate and it just turns into fighting and arguing unnecessarily, because again, feelings are hurt and egos are hurt, and we didn't know how to speak our piece in a conducive way. all that's children fighting. That's grown-up children having tantrums, in my personal opinion. Because I strongly believe that most everything, that's an oxymoron, but I strongly believe that most everything can be dealt with through conversation. Period. So, speak your piece. Say what you need to say. Exercise your voice. Exercise your words. And say what you need to say today. Alright, make it a good one, y'all. You know, one more thing about speaking your piece. It might go better than you anticipate. You never know, right? And that goes back to what I was talking about yesterday. We don't know until we do. And when we do, we might be pleasantly surprised with the outcome. Like, the outcome might just be like, you know what? That wasn't so bad. I should do this more often. Again, I know what it's like to have to deal with difficult people. So I know not everybody is easy to talk to. I get that. But the same token, you just might be surprised. Being thought out, being mindful of how you say what you have to say, you might be surprised at the reaction you get. It might just work out in your favor. And again, you know, so I was talking about, like, you know, being willing to deal with the consequences ourselves. So for the sake of the example that I was using before about having dealings with somebody who doesn't want to be in a relationship, when you come to the point where you like say what you have to say, you know, they might be down. They might like you enough to stay down with you. Or in the biggest situation, say what you have to say for them that you're negotiating. You're afraid to say your offer, to say your price, to say whatever it may be, right? You might just be surprised that they said yes. You know, we don't know. We don't know. We can't predict what someone else may say, what another person is thinking. We may think we know, and we might be right sometimes, but we don't know all the time. We can't be in another person's head. So therefore, don't try to be a psychic or a fortune teller or a mind reader. Just focus on you. Focus on being at peace within yourself. Be open and be willing to embrace the consequences of said things. If you know you want a deeper quality relationship with somebody, and the relationship you're in isn't giving you that, and you say what you have to say, yes, you might lose that relationship, but you open yourself up to the possibility of receiving something greater, what you actually want. So again, say what you have to say. Be willing to accept the consequences of it, of whatever that may be. You know, granted, I know people's situations are very different, so I'm hoping that if you're in a physically dangerous situation, consider your safety always. But I know in many cases, sometimes we're just afraid. You know, we're just afraid of losing out on whatever we have. And so, you know, being willing to lose in order to gain. That's a message right there. Be willing to lose in order to gain. Don't hold on so tightly to something that's not even really what you want because you're afraid that you can't find or get something better out there. Let it go. And watch if something better doesn't show up as you continue to grow and evolve and speak your piece and state what you want and be open to receiving what you want. Peace and love, y'all.